Welcome back to the Play Action Podcast. We're here to talk about a very exciting week one. Oh my gosh, great football. I mean, what a great way to just kick off the first week of college football. We missed it, and it's definitely back. We had some upsets. We had some surprising teams pull through. We had some surprising teams not pull through, and we're just here to recap all of it and break it down for you because it was a lot. It was a lot of, Colorado stealing most of the headlines and, Clemson losing last night, which was huge. But yeah, Brock, what did you think of this week one? Were you satisfied with the entertainment?
It's prime time.
It's prime time, baby.
Deion Sanders is here, and he is ready to take over college football.
Did you believe?
No.
Did you believe?
Not at all.
Do you believe now?
I don't know.
We don't know. We don't know what this team is. We know that this team is capable enough to go out there and get a big road win against TCU. But oh my gosh, that was unbelievable. We know now. We didn't know before.
Well, I think the conversation needs to be is Texas, or not Texas, is Colorado good or is TCU bad?
Yeah.
It's like,
I think it's a little bit of both.
I think it is a little bit of both. I think
TCU is definitely not the team that they were last year. That's for sure.
I think Shedeur Sanders surprised everybody.
I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the country right now.
I wouldn't even put it past it.
Yeah.
Because I think when he came up from the FCS level, everyone's like, oh, it's FCS, it's Jackson State. And I know Deion talked about that a little bit in his post-game presser. He's like, why am I bringing my kid over from an FCS school to start?
HBCU. And he was calling out all the reporters. Yeah. Oh my gosh, it was so awesome.
Shedeur Sanders looked like a 4-year Power 5 starter who has been to multiple conference championship games and maybe even a playoff. Yeah. That's how good he looked.
Yeah, he balled.
He was lights out.
Over 500 yards. He set the school record for most yards in a game.
In their first game.
Their first game. Yeah. I mean, the dude balled. It was any target he wanted. He was making those big plays because I don't think Colorado's I don't think their offensive line is good enough to be able to go out there and, you're just going to be moving the ball through the run game. Mm. So, it was putting a lot of pressure on Shedeur to be able to go out there and make some plays. And my goodness, did he do that? He was throwing the ball exactly where he needed to. And kind of an unexpected target in Travis Hunter. I didn't know he was going to be playing both ways until about a week ago. Yep. And my goodness, did he just have a phenomenal game as well on both ends of the ball.
Well, I think with Shedeur, I always thought he was going to be, and he is a dual threat QB, but I thought he was going to be like a very dual threat QB. I thought he was going to be, dishing with the arm and then, juking people out, taking it to the crib as well. But he was kind of like a pocket passer. He was stood back there and threw it to who he wanted to throw it to. Yeah,
he surprised me on, how well he did in the pocket because like you mentioned, I thought he was, dual threat. People or teams are going to have to look at the, the run game, and then he'll be able to, open things up for the pass game. But it seemed like pass game was just doing fine on its own.
Yeah.
He didn't really have to include the run game as much. But oh my gosh, dude. Should we talk about how the line has changed from, me and Brock were watching the game together on Saturday, and I was keeping an eye on that 9.5, Nebraska favorite as Nebraska plays Colorado on the road. And I was keeping an eye on that because I was like, okay, when is this going to change? Because for a Nebraska team that did they lose to Northwestern or?
They lost to Minnesota.
They lost to Minnesota like 7-3 in their week 0 game.
Lost to Northwestern last year.
Last year. That's where I got the mix up. But I was like, okay, this team is better than Nebraska, 100%. And then the line just got turned off probably about midway through the fourth quarter. And I was like, I wonder who hopped on, the plus 9.5 for Colorado, because it completely flipped and now Colorado is a 3-point favorite as of today.
Yeah. I want to know who got Colorado plus 9.5.
Yeah, because that's free money.
Yeah,
you're printing money at that point.
Hopefully you put your mortgage down.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be making big money.
Yeah, put your house down on that because I just, after seeing that week 1 of Colorado, I don't see how they go out there and lose to Nebraska at home.
Yeah, I think it's weird. It's a scenario where a 1-11 team comes into the season, heavy underdogs going on the road against TCU, nationally ranked. Play pretty well for the first half. Everyone's like kind of pleased. They show up in the second half, get the job done. And now they're a favorite for at least their next 2 games.
Yeah.
And then you even look at some of those Pac-12 games down the line too, and they're all their favorites in those games as well.
Yeah. So it just completely flipped because no one had any idea, what this team was capable of doing. I mean, they brought in 70 plus transfers.
Yep.
So to be able to see them go out and play football, it looked like they've been playing football together for years.
Yeah.
And they've been under limited practices and they went out and just balled out. I mean, credit to Colorado and Deion Sanders to be able to, prime time to be able to go out there and do that and shock the whole world, honestly.
Well, I mean, Deion told us, he told everybody. He told us it was happening. I know we made a video a little while back saying, can Deion revive Colorado? And I know I was big. I was like, he can revive them.
It's just going to take
I don't know if it's going to be this year, though.
Yeah, we thought it might take 2-3 years to be able to,
He might do it this year,
It's
I'm not saying Colorado's going 12-0, winning the national championship, but I think they're going to give a lot of teams a lot of problems. That defense is a little concerning.
Yeah.
42 is, you don't want to be giving up 42.
Especially for a TCU team where the quarterback didn't look too great, in my opinion.
Yeah, threw a couple bad picks.
And, big shoes to fill in Max Duggan, but I didn't think TCU quarterback was as good as any. You can't be allowing 45, 50 points to teams like that. You're going to lose football games in the Pac-12 doing that.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think everybody's takes after Colorado has been a little unreasonable.
Yeah.
I still think they're going to probably be maybe like a 6-6 team.
Yeah.
Because I want, they got a tough schedule. They got to play USC. They got to play Oregon. They got to play Utah. I think they got to play Oregon State too.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong there, but they
So
still
to go
got
out,
a tough schedule.
Yeah, to go out and say that, based off this week 1 win for Colorado, definitely, proves a lot of doubters wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But to go out and say that they are potentially a playoff contender is a bit of a reach just based off of, their schedule this season. They have a tough one. I think they got Utah on the road. They play Washington, Oregon. Or they just play Oregon.
I know they play Oregon. I don't know about Washington.
They play Oregon. They play USC. And I mean, Pac-12 is looking tough this year. Went 12-0 this weekend across the whole board. So to go out and say that, they're potential playoff contenders might be a bit of a stretch. But I mean, if you doubt Deion wrong, yeah, things can happen. We saw it this weekend. So
yeah. And I think I'm more excited to see what Deion does in the Big 12 now.
Yeah.
Because I do think the Big 12 is a little bit of a step down maybe for teams in the top half. I think overall it's a more competitive conference.
Yeah, at least this year.
Yeah. But next year there's no USCs, there's no Oregons, there's no Washingtons.
Yeah.
So there's a real scenario. And I tweeted it out earlier, just kind of joking around, saying Colorado 2024 Big 12 champs confirmed. And that could be a real possibility as soon as next year.
Yeah. Also, if anyone's coming from Twitter, Brock's the one who's running all that. So don't come at me if he's pissing off your fan base, pissing you off because of your team. That's all on Brock.
Well, your team sucks.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
They should get better.
I want to make that very clear. So don't be coming from my head. It's Brock over here. He's the one firing off those steaming tweets. But for TCU, what does this mean for them? Chandler Morris and TCU, are they still contenders for the Big 12?
I mean, Big 12's wide open. Texas didn't really impress me. Oklahoma did what they had to do, put 73 on Arkansas State. But
yeah,
it's Arkansas State. We're
it's
not
kind of
going
what we
to take too much
expected.
from it. Baylor looked bad, losing to Texas State at home.
No, North Texas.
Tech.
North Texas?
I think it was Texas Tech.
Texas State.
Texas State. Texas State. And Texas Tech lost to Wyoming on the road. So it's like
a bad weekend. Bad weekend for the Big 12.
Big 12 had a bad week. That's why I'm not saying TCU's out of it, but I think this is a tough loss to take.
I think it'll be pretty telling week 2. We'll see how good that Texas team is as they go to Tuscaloosa. So, but I won't count them out of it, but I think that their chances are definitely,
I mean, for the Big 12, it only gets harder.
Yeah.
Oregon or Texas Tech has Oregon, Baylor has Utah, Texas obviously has Alabama.
Yeah.
So
it does get rough for the conference, and
really rough for the
conference. It'll be very telling week 2. But that's kind of our takeaway for Colorado this weekend. My goodness, what a game that was! What a freaking game! Next game we're gonna kind of recap would be that Florida State LSU, we had it as our best game of the week. This weekend played on Sunday. Someone's got to check on our boy, Brian Kelly.
He's going through it.
He's going through it right now because my goodness, the confidence he had going into that game. I'll throw up a little graphic of what he said, but I think it was, we're gonna beat the heck out of this team.
Yeah, I tweeted once that post went live. Once I first saw it, I think it was on like Wednesday or Thursday.
Yeah,
I tweeted and I was like, freezing cold takes is gonna be all over this.
Yeah,
sure enough, right as the game ended, there goes that post.
There it was, and yeah. I mean, this is a team who obviously was disappointed in the outcome of the game last year, wanted revenge. And man, they just pretty much did the opposite of what Brian Kelly said that they were going to do. They got the heck beat out of them. So what happened? What happened to LSU this weekend?
I don't really think it matters about LSU. I think it's more about Florida State is good.
Florida State's a great football team.
You know, I know back in early January, February, I put out a little short in TikTok talking about how I thought Florida State was going to make the playoff.
Yeah.
And I think it just looks even that much better after week one. Their schedule is really favorable. Their toughest game, probably the rest of the season, is Clemson on the road. And Clemson didn't look great.
They looked very below average.
This FSU team is really good. Jordan Travis is a legit QB. He's going to be really, really good. Keon Coleman surprised me. I think he had 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
A couple of them that were just jump balls. Jordan just threw it up to him and said, go make a play.
And he made the play. Phenomenal athlete.
But now that Johnny Wilson doesn't have to be that wide receiver 1, he can kind of be that supporting cast to Keon Coleman. I think that helps Johnny Wilson a lot because he's struggled with drops, had a ton of drops in that LSU game too. But I think it's just only going to benefit him. Trey Benson was so good. I just think this Florida State team is going to be tough to beat.
To be able to go out there and just, tack on such a huge win against a great team. I mean, this is an LSU team that made the SEC championship last year.
Yep.
You know, we thought that maybe they could make it again this year, but I think Florida State has a realistic chance to go out there and run the table the rest of the season.
Yep.
I mean, Clemson being their most difficult opponent moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, lost to Duke on a Monday night.
Yep.
Bad by a couple scores. So, I mean, if Florida State is very capable of going out there running the table, we could see them a 1 or 2 in the country.
Yeah, and I think the defense is just as good too. You know, I think they have everything that they need to compete. I think Mike Norvell is a pretty underrated coach. But one thing no one talks about is he kills the transfer portal.
Yeah,
every single year. You know, if you look at the transfers that he brought in to Florida State this year, it's just incredible what he's done.
Yeah.
So I'm super high on Florida State. I've been high on Florida State for a while, and I don't think Sunday was a fluke, and I also don't think LSU's a bad football team.
Yeah,
like I don't think that was just Florida State beating up on a bad team. I think LSU's really good, and I think they could, and most likely will, end up in the SEC championship game.
Still,
I think so.
Okay,
but you know, they ran into a really good Florida State team who I think is going to run the table, and I think they're going to be playing for it all.
That just all leads back to, you know, next week's game, Alabama, Texas, because that's going to be very telling for that division, the SEC. You know, will it be Alabama? Will it be LSU coming out of the division? Will it be someone else? But Brock still got or LSU coming out of the division. You still think they're a top 15 team in the country?
Yeah, and we'll even talk about the AP a little bit later, but I still think they're a top 10 team.
Oh, wow.
You know, I think Jane Daniels showed a lot of good on Sunday. I don't necessarily think they lost because of him. They were obviously missing one of their best players on defense in Mason Smith. And they also decided to play Harold Perkins as like an off-ball linebacker. He's best rushing the passer. You know, get him on the line, let him rush the passer, let him impact the game that way. I think LSU will be just fine.
Yeah, I agree. Next game, North Carolina beating South Carolina. Also, I want to mention I went 3 for 3 on picks this weekend. And you went 1 for 3, I think.
Let's see, I had Florida State.
Oh, you had Florida State?
Yeah, I had Florida State.
Oh, I had LSU then. Because I know we had 2 indifferent picks. So then we both went 2 and 3. Because I picked North Carolina, you picked South Carolina.
What other game did we do? Utah, Florida? We both picked Utah.
Yeah, so 2 for 3 for both of us. But North Carolina beating South Carolina in that rivalry game. The Duke's Mayo Bowl. Duke Mayo Bowl. And, Drake May. He's exactly who we thought he was going to be, you know. little weapons, still able to get out there and just, win a football game.
Well, yeah, and that was my biggest problem coming into the season with North Carolina. I was like, who's going to step up and make the plays? Drake May, we know we're getting Drake May, fantastic QB. He's going to move the ball, and he did move the ball. He didn't really look like he was struggling out there.
Yeah.
It's also terrifying when that 6'4" dude just gets on his horse and starts running at people.
Yeah.
So
it's not an easy guy to tackle. That's for sure.
I think another surprising thing was Spencer Rattler didn't really take the step up I thought he was going to do.
Yeah.
He looked great towards the end of the season. Obviously, he lit up that Tennessee team.
Yeah.
At the end of the season, but didn't really take that step.
And that Clemson team too. And Clemson.
Yeah. But he just didn't really take the step up that I thought he was going to. And it's obviously still early in the season.
Yeah.
He's got plenty of time to do it. But I thought he was going to come out, week one, make a statement. And I thought South Carolina was going to play a lot better than they did.
Yeah.
But they were pretty disappointing.
Yeah, especially with how much momentum they had, going into the season from last season. But yeah, I was pretty disappointed in the way South Carolina played this weekend. But yeah, North Carolina's defense, they were there to play as well. And
They showed up. Yeah.
They did show up, and they were able to, get that win in that rivalry. But let's talk about some other storylines this weekend. The one first being a Thursday night game. So let's talk about Utah, Florida. Utah looking for revenge after, losing in Gainesville last year, losing in the Swamp. This time without QB1 and QB2, they had to reside to the third and fourth string in Bryson Barnes and your guy,
Nate Johnson.
Nate Johnson, which, it was a little shaky in that position, but, they were firing early. Bryson Barnes with the 7-yard touchdown to open the game. And, it was just kind of, they didn't seem like they were going to lose after that.
Yeah, and the whole switching between QBs thing it was a little weird. I don't know. I like sticking with a guy. And if that guy doesn't perform, then you move on to the next guy and you stick him in there and keep him in there. But they decided to go back and forth, switching him back and forth within the game. And I don't know. I don't think they necessarily had the offensive impact that they wanted, but I think they were dominant for the most part.
Yeah.
They dominated the first half. Game wasn't really as close as the score seemed.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I felt like the game was a lot more out of reach than, a 2-score football game.
Yeah. And I think it's just a tell to how far Florida has fallen off.
Yeah.
And that's crazy to say because they have the number 3 recruiting class in the nation right now.
Which is crazy
for next season. So I don't know. Graham Mertz played pretty well for the most part, but he didn't seem threatening. I wasn't really ever scared of Graham Mertz. Ricky Pearsall played really well, though.
Yeah.
Wide receiver.
Yeah, he was getting most of the targets.
But they couldn't really establish a run game. I think they had 13 rushing yards all game. So if Florida can't establish a run, then they're not going to really affect you too much.
Yeah, I agree. And it's just, for me, it's confusing how Florida can, go out there and get a top 5, top 10 recruiting class almost every year. And they still have to go shopping in the portal desperately for a quarterback and, picking up Graham Mertz, who's only going to be with the team for a couple of months going into the season opener. You can't expect too much from him. You'd like to see, maybe like a fresh or a sophomore who played behind Anthony Richardson last year, was more familiar with the team in that position. But yeah, you can't expect, Graham Mertz to just go in there and, turn things around for a Florida team who's been, they've been disappointing these last few years, to say the least.
Yeah, you can tell that the altitude really got to him as well.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Because they looked tired.
Yeah.
They looked really tired.
Yeah.
Towards the end of the game. So, I don't know. Billy Napier has some work to do down there in Florida.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, too, after watching the Swamp Kings doc, it's weird because Urban would lose to a top, 25 team. And people would be like, is Urban Meyer going to get fired?
Yeah.
It's I don't know.
And now Billy Napier can go in 6-7 and then lose the season opener. Mm-hmm. And it's just kind of that's what Florida has become, I guess.
Yeah.
Which is too bad. But yeah, for the Utes, got their revenge and they'll move forward, play Baylor next week as, the Pac-12 continues to succeed. Number 9, Clemson falls to Duke. This was the game last night, Monday night. And I told my dad before the game, no one's going to believe me, but I was like, I think Clemson's on upset alert tonight. I was like, I just don't have faith in I don't have faith in Cade Klubnik this year. I just don't. And he did not impress me too much last night.
Yeah, Cade's an interesting one because I thought DJ was really thrown into the fire last year. When Clemson wasn't playing well on offense, and like as he should, I guess. When the offense isn't playing well, it's the QB. When the offense is playing amazing, it's the QB.
It's the QB, yeah.
So, but I always thought it wasn't really DJ's fault last year. I know DJ was making some plays, didn't really fit his play style, I think. But I also kind of have to look at Dabo.
Yeah.
Because I think Dabo doesn't change his style to fit the QB that he has.
Yeah, it just kind of lets it ride.
It's like you look at some of the great QBs he had. Deshaun Watson was an elite, runner of the ball. He can make every throw. He was a generational quarterback prospect. Then you get Trevor Lawrence.
Same way.
Another generational QB prospect, can make all the throws, can make plays with his legs. DJ is not a generational quarterback prospect.
Yeah.
I don't think he can make all the throws needed. Doesn't really throw the ball deep too well, in my opinion. And I think Cade's similar right now because I think he's got a lot of growing to do. But it's like the offense isn't really catering to their weaknesses.
Yeah.
They
were getting nothing going. The only reason they had 7 points because Duke muffed the punt.
Mm-hmm.
That was literally it. So if they're gonna want to turn things around, they're gonna have to make some improvements going into conference.
Well, and they bring over TCU's offensive coordinator from last year.
Yeah,
and nothing changed.
Yeah,
it's like
absolutely nothing changed.
Looked like the Clemson offense last year.
It kind of seems like Dabo's not giving him the freedom to be able to go out there and make some changes, do things he wants.
Yeah, and I don't know. It was lackluster. It was gross. They fumbled like how many times in the red zone?
Like 2 or 3 at least.
Like that kills games too when you can't punch it in when you get all the way down the field. So I don't know. Clemson, I thought they were kind of overrated going into the season. I didn't think they were. Like I thought they were still a top 15, maybe top 20 team.
Not top 10.
I didn't think they were 9.
Not top 10.
But I don't know. I'm surprised they're still ranked.
Yeah, Clemson, revealing their true colors, stays in the rankings at 25.
Mm-hmm.
We mentioned we thought that they should drop out. With the way that they played against, Duke's good,
mm-hmm.
but
maybe.
Yeah,
maybe.
But that quarterback there, he did well. He did everything he needed to do. But yeah, I don't think Duke is anything that that should keep you in the rankings for losing to them.
Yeah, and I've been hearing the noise a little bit about Riley Leonard, but that run he had was special.
Yeah,
that.
Oh yeah,
someone compared it to Michael Vick, and I wouldn't necessarily go that far.
Yeah,
but it was special.
Yeah.
So shout out to Duke, man.
Shout out to Duke.
It's weird. It's weird seeing a known basketball school have a decent football team.
We got like 3. Got like 3 known basketball schools.
Yeah.
Duke, North Carolina, Florida State.
Yeah.
I don't know if Florida State's considered a basketball school. I always seen them as a basketball school.
Yeah.
But 3 teams from the ACC that they could both make a run, and they could all make a run and go win the conference. But I think that's all the games we're gonna talk about. But yeah, Pac-12 went 12-0 week 1, 13-0 to start the year, and obviously final season before RIP, rest in peace Pac-12. But what is your take on that? On how the Pac-12 has performed so far?
I'm surprised that no conference has ever gone undefeated through a week.
Ever through week 1?
I think the previous best was like 11-0.
Really?
So
wow.
I think it was by the Big Ten. I want to say
this is the best start ever.
Best start
ever for a conference.
It's the last ever season.
13-0. Wow.
But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting.
There's a lot of teams that could contend to win the conference there.
Well, and it's not like they all played, FCS level schools.
Yeah.
Washington played, Boise State, who for the most part is a pretty good football program. Utah played Florida. Colorado played a nationally ranked TCU. So it's not like they're all just playing FCS level schools.
Mm-hmm.
There were
some of them were. Some of them were.
Yeah, Oregon
So-
really beat up on Portland
Yeah.
State.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think this just shows what the conference is going to be this year.
Yeah.
It's going to be a gauntlet.
It is going to be a gauntlet, and it's going to be who's going to be able to get out of here with only 1 or 2 losses,
If it's even possible.
if it's even possible. And I would like to see, I feel like if there's a year that a Pac-12 team could win it all,
Mhm.
it's this year.
Yeah.
And what better year than the last year? They go out with a bang.
Yeah, and like I think it's going to be a team that's going to win the conference with 3 losses.
Yeah.
If I had to guess, because I just think it's
Sucks.
that even and that competitive, and there's going to be a lot of teams that are going to go into tough road places to win, and they're going to play tough teams.
That's gonna suck. Yeah, I don't want a 3 loss team win. I want a 1 or 2, and I want to see them in the playoff. But let's talk about the AP poll that came out today. So we had, let's see, do we got it somewhere? Let's see.
I don't have it here. I know for the most of it off the top of my head. Georgia number 1,
I'll pull it up.
Michigan 2. Let's see, Alabama 3, Florida State 4.
Yeah. Or did Florida State move up? Let me look.
I think Florida State's 4. And then Penn State, I think, moved up to 5.
Yeah, Florida State 4, Ohio State 5,
Ohio
USC
State 5.
6,
USC
Penn
6,
State 7,
Penn State 7. That's right.
Washington 8, Tennessee 9, Notre Dame 10. So that's the top 10. But yeah, it was Ohio State dropping 2 spots.
I think it's deserved.
Yeah, they didn't play too great.
They didn't look great at all.
I think they have a lot of question marks at the quarterback position. USC stands still. Same with Penn State. Washington moves up 2 spots. Tennessee 3, Notre Dame 3. And obviously LSU dropping down to 14. Do we think that they deserved that punishment?
Yeah, I kind of talked about it a little bit earlier. I thought it was a little harsh. Like, I still think LSU is a top 10 team in the nation right now. I think they just ran into a top 3 team in Florida State.
Yeah.
You know, and
Mhm.
neutral site game, not really neutral though, because it's in Florida. A lot of Florida State fans. Florida State, put a beating on them.
Yeah.
I just think that's a really good Florida State team, and I think it's still a really good LSU team.
Yeah.
But I think 9 spots was a little harsh for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it is good to see SEC teams get that same kind of punishment
Exactly.
that other conferences get.
Exactly.
So,
I was expecting them to stay in the top 10 personally,
Yeah.
just based off of that. But we got 2 teams that joined the top 25, being Duke at 21, Colorado at 22 after well-deserving wins.
beat ranked teams get put in the poll.
Yeah.
Pretty simple.
Yeah. From what I'm seeing, you can't really take too much away from this. It's only been 1 week. A lot of them didn't really play any crazy teams. So we'll see how that goes as things pan out. We got anything else? I think we're gonna do a separate episode for previewing the games.
Okay.
So I think this will be a recap episode, and then later on in the week we'll do a preview for next week. Because it looks like we got some good games coming up. We'll kind of just mention a few. Week 2, we got Ole Miss at Tulane. That'll be a ranked matchup, 20 and 24. Texas at Alabama, obviously a ranked matchup, 11 and 3. And then Texas A&M at Miami should be an intriguing matchup as well. So yeah, we'll be back in a couple days to discuss those games, and we'll catch you guys next time. So thanks for tuning in.